Hey guys, John here, and welcome back to the VPS Avenger 2 Master Course. This is video 5, and today we're talking about loops and multi-loops. So let's load up a single loop via the browser. Let's click on Saw here, and let's go down to the single loops category, and then granular factory vocals, and then let's scroll down until we find vocal loop 1 and double click this here. So up here on the left-hand side, we can see the tempo, which is 85.97. So let's bring our main tempo down to 86 to kind of match that, something like this here. So once we have our sample loaded up, we can begin playing it back by pressing a key. You and me together, you know I said it feels better late than ever, then head over heels. In the editor window, we can click and drag the loop start over here on the left-hand side, the loop end, or we have an offset down over here. And keep in mind, these three options will mirror these knobs down over here at the bottom. And on the bottom left here, we can change our grid size from 1/4 to 1/8. On the left-hand side of the editor window and the left-hand side of the oscillator section, we can choose from 3 different time-stretching algorithms. The first one is going to be this Elastic Pro, the next one is going to be the efficient one, and then we have time freeze. So according to the manual, the Pro is the best sounding but higher CPU cost, the efficient is lower quality but better CPU performance, and then time freeze is the lightest algorithm of the 3. The manual recommends to use Pro as long as CPU power is available. So let's take a quick listen to these different time-stretching algorithms. Let's slow this down by half speed and take a listen. And here's efficient. You and me together, you know I said it feels. And then we have time freeze. You and me together, you know I said it feels. Right beneath the time stretching algorithms, we have latch. Now, if we set this to normal, we can hit a key and let go, and the sample will play back forever. We can always hit another key to change the pitch if we'd like to, and this also prevents the sample from re-triggering. So let's take a look at that real quick. Let's go from off, and let's go to normal and hit a key and let go. And play another key. And another one. And then we have this little stop button on the right hand side to stop the playback. The other option that we have is called quantized, and this will change at the next grid step. So directly to the right of the algorithm and latch, we have something called Formants. Now, here we can change the formants in the first, second, and third order. So let's take a quick listen to see how that affects the vocals. So this is going to be the first order. You and me together, you know I said it feels better late than ever, then head over heels. You and me together, you know I said it feels. And the second order. You and me together, you know I said it feels better late than ever, then head over heels. You and me together, you know I said. And the third order. You and me together, you know I said it feels better than ever, then head over heels. You and me together. So next up, we have the speed buttons, which are rather self-explanatory. We can half the speed, we can double the speed, and this first time is going to be default. And directly to the right of that, we have an FX knob, and a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory, although I do want to show you what crazy does, so let's take a listen to crazy here. You and me together, you know I said it feels better than ever, then head over heels. You and me together, you know I said it feels. And then to the right of that, we have the stereo width knob. You and me together, you know I said it feels better late than ever, then head over heels. You and me together, you know I said it feels better late than ever, then head over heels. And you'll also notice that these knobs are also available here in the oscillator section as well. As we saw earlier, in the top left oscillator window, we can see what the sample's tempo's in. So this one is going to be in 85.97. And here we can also set the root note and the speed of the sample playback, which is also tied to the speed button that we saw earlier down over here. Now, a little bit below that, we have an octave lock. So if we want the sample to be restricted to 1 octave, we can achieve that by hitting octave lock. So now let's take a look at the multi-loops by loading up a really cool sounding electric guitar. Now let's click here on the saw, and then down here at the bottom where it says multi-loops, let's click that guy, and then factory distorted guitars, and let's navigate to distorted 8th mute and double click this guy. So now we can play some notes. Now our tempo is still a little bit slow from what we changed earlier, and if we look up here on the top left, we can see that this is recorded in 140 BPM. So let's go ahead and change it to 140, something like that. Now let's take a listen. So what we notice here is that we have pre-recorded phrases in different pitches as we play different keys. Now, a lot of the controls here are the same as when we loaded up a single loop, so let's focus on what's new here. So if we take a close look on the left-hand side of the oscillator, we can see the loop type, we can see the BPM, and we can see a master gain knob right over here. And below, we can see all the samples with their individual gain sliders. If we click the note name here, we can assign its type, and we have major, major 7, minor 7, so on and so forth. So quite a lot of options to choose from. Also, if you want to change out your sample, you can click the name here, and it's going to open up your file browser to then navigate to a different sample of your choice. Now, what's really cool with this multi-sample is that you can design phrases in any synth or instrument that you want, bounce it out through an entire octave range, and then bring that inside Avenger. If that's something you're interested in doing, all you have to do is edit the preset and then double click multi-loops from the browser instead of actually picking one. So we would go here to go menu, initialize, and then say yes, and then we would click this saw, and then we would just double click this multi-loops, and then here is going to ask us how we want to proceed. So this loop that we've been looking at, this distorted guitar, is defined as a fifth single note, as we can see down over here. Now we also have a different mode called the major minor mode, and let's take a look at that by loading up a steel guitar. So let's go over here where it says distorted eighth mute, and let's go back to multi-loops and then to factory steel guitars, and let's load up this steel guitar 2. Now what's really cool is here you can play different chords and Avenger will switch out these samples. Now, here's a really cool spot where we can use latch mode and then play different chords when we feel is the right time to do so. So on the latch mode, let's go from off to normal. Let's add a little bit of reverb and delay, and let's play some chords with our track. Well, all right, guys, that wraps it up for this video. In the next video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the arpeggiator, one of my personal favorites as there's so many cool options and possibilities. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you in the next video.